Hey everyone, welcome back, or welcome if you're new here. Either way, it's been a while, so thank you for tuning in. Today I thought I'd just share some recent reads, a few recent pickups, and then share kind of what I'm planning to read next. And then going forward, I'm hoping to be a little bit more consistent, likely weekly with the videos, and mix up the content a little bit, just because I think that would be fun. So yeah, without further ado, we'll just get started with the recent reads. And the first one that I read was Young Mungo by Douglas Stuart. This was for my book club. But it basically follows a young boy growing up in Glasgow, Scotland, whose father has passed away and whose mother is an alcoholic. So he's raised largely by his sister, and then influenced heavily by his brother, who is troubled in his own way, but a little bit more self-sufficient. And it follows his story and then kind of his budding romance with a Catholic. And James is, James is a Catholic, and then the main character, Mungo, is Protestant, and they do not get along at all. In fact, there's a lot of violence between the two groups, and it sort of follows their paths as they meet each other, and then the aftermath of that meeting. And this is the same author as the book Shuggie Bain, which is probably a little bit more famous, or it's been around longer. It was a National Book Award finalist, and this book, or the author, Douglas Stuart, was inspired a lot by A Little Life, which is known for being like a pretty tragic bad thing after bad thing happening. And you can definitely tell that the author was inspired by that, because young Mungo, or Mungo, as he grows up and as this book progresses, just worse and worse things keep happening to him. So it's definitely a book you want to go into prepared for bad things to happen. It's quite tragic, but also written very beautifully at the same time. The way Douglas Stuart describes Mungo's relationship with his mother is probably one of the most saddest but beautiful descriptions of a mother-son relationship that I've ever read. But yeah, this book is wonderful, well written, a lot shorter than A Little Life if you're looking for something like that, but not wanting to read something as long. And yeah, it's written very well. The story's interesting enough. It's a little bit confusing because it goes back and forth between this fishing trip and just the main character Mungo kind of living his everyday life. So it's a little bit hard to figure out timeline-wise, and a little bit confusing of what's going on. It's also written sort of in the native accent or native language, so it can take a little bit of getting used to, especially some of my friends did the audiobook of this one, and it can be a little bit hard to understand before you get used to it. So definitely go into this book knowing that, but great read, really enjoyed this one, and definitely recommend. The next one I read is one that's been recently really popular, Martyr. This is probably my favorite book that I have recently read. It is about this young man who is a poet and an alcoholic, and whose mother died when he was young in a plane crash. It doesn't have much of a plot except for that, and the main character's name is Cyrus, but the main plot is that he's recently became obsessed with martyrs, and he's going to New York to visit an artist that is dying of cancer, but is essentially living at a museum. So the woman is living at a museum, and the guests of the art museum can go and just talk to her, and that's the exhibit. And so Cyrus, I think, sees that person as a martyr, and then goes to New York with his roommate to basically go see that exhibit as part of his research on martyrs. And it's a strange book because it's very tragic, but it's a lot of a lot of humor is mixed in as well. So it's kind of funny and lighthearted while also being extremely depressing. It's very like I don't even know a book that I can compare it to. But this is just a recent, really fun read. I really like it. A lot of the story does center on a plane crash, though, and I read it on a plane, so I do have that regret. But otherwise, I would definitely recommend this book. The next one, I'm finally getting to. I have not actually finished this, so I won't do a full review on it. But I have this much left, which I keep saying I'm almost done with it, but this is like 200 pages. But it's like I don't know how many pages this book is. It's almost 800 pages, so it feels like I'm almost done, but also have basically a full book's length left. But I finally started reading The Goldfinch by Donna Tartt, which is the most recent Donna Tartt novel and the last one that I have to read before I finish them all. So I am kind of also trying to take it slow, but so far it's really good. It immediately opens with a young boy, Theo, who is at an art museum with his mom, and there's an attack on the art museum, and the museum blows up, and it kills his mom, and he luckily escapes from any harm really in the explosion. But then the rest of the book sort of follows the rest of his life, revolves around a piece of art, as well as basically the friendships and people who end up taking care of Theo throughout his childhood, and then follows him through adulthood. And yeah, now I'm at the part where basically he's an adult and sort of a little bit lost, but basically trying to figure out his life a little bit. But so far it's really good. I don't know where this will end up ranking in my Donna Tartt book rankings. I think this will definitely be ahead of The Secret History. And then the other one is The Little Friend, which I actually really like. So I don't know if this will beat that because it's a lot longer and takes a lot more effort to get through. And The Little Friend was a little bit more condensed, but this might be, depending on how it ends and sort of how Theo's story concludes, this might end up being my favorite one. There's also a movie on it, which I've watched like the first 20 minutes of it, but I'm not sure the movie's any good. We'll see. But yeah, that concludes basically the recent reads section. So I'll just walk through some more recent pickups that I've gotten. This one my mom gave me for Christmas, James, and I believe it's basically like literary fan fiction of the book Huckleberry Finn. And it follows the character Jim, who is, I think some would describe him kind of a problematic character, or problematically written character in Huckleberry Finn. And yeah, basically, I think goes through the Huckleberry Finn book from his perspective. I'm not exactly sure. I haven't read very many descriptions of it because I think my mom was going to pick this next for my family book club. So I'm kind of just gonna go into it and read it and see how it goes. But I am really excited for this one. I read Huckleberry Finn in like 8th grade, I think, for school, but I'm not too fresh on the story. So, but I don't think you have to have read it at all to enjoy this book. Next, we have Lullabies for Little Criminals by Heather O'Neill. So my brother picked this for our family book club and then quickly changed his mind, but not before we got this book. So now I just have this book. He actually really quickly listened to it on Audible, was like, I don't like it, and then changed our book club book. So I don't know if I'm gonna read this. It definitely sounds more like a book that I would like than what he would like. It's about a 13-year-old girl who I think is very troubled and does some crazy stuff. I don't know a lot about it. Because I was basically planning to just read it once I got it, but now I haven't read it yet, and now I have it. But I think I will actually read this because it seems a little bit more up my alley. When I'll read it, I have no idea. Then I randomly have this book, The Poisonwood Bible by Barbara Kingslover. She wrote Demon Copperhead. I have no idea what this book is about, but I really like Demon Copperhead. So I think I will, at some point, just get into this and read it. But yeah, this book was $3, as you can see. So more of an impulse. Then I actually got this from a work event where, so I went to a speaking event where Justice Jackson was speaking. They kind of did a little interview with her on stage, and then I saw right outside the speaking event they had signed copies of this book. So this is actually signed by Justice Jackson, which is really cool. From listening to the interview and seeing her life seems really interesting, very focused on like education, art, music, that sort of thing. So I am really curious. I love memoirs, so I really will be curious to learn more about her life. But I really mainly got this book just because I saw her and there were signed copies right there. My dad also read this book and really liked it, so that was also a motivating factor. But yeah, happy to have this and have a signed copy. So I will probably read this. And then kind of what I am planning to read next is Shuggie Bain, also by Douglas Stuart. This is the more famous one that I was talking about earlier. And I didn't know this before reading Young Mungo, but I feel like based on reading the back and then a couple things online that this is almost like a book written about Mungo before like earlier in time. So I think Mungo starts when he's 13, so this is about an even younger boy and his relationship with his mom. So I think they're not quite like Young Mungo isn't really a sequel to Shuggie Bain, but they're very similar characters. So I think I almost wish I'd read this first. But now there's nothing to be done about that. So I'll be curious to see sort of the childhood perspective of the Mungo character, or younger childhood perspective. And this character's name is Shuggie Bain. So they're not the same, but I have heard that the stories have a lot of sort of overlapping similarities between Mungo and Shuggie Bain. So I will be very excited to read this. And yeah, this will probably be my next read just so I can finish those two stories together. But yeah, like I said, thank you so much for tuning in. Hopefully these videos will be a little bit more consistent going forward. But yeah, I'm looking forward to diving into some of the recent pickups and then reading more and getting back to you on how I liked all the books. So yeah, have a great rest of your day.